So we were a publicly traded company. I was the youngest CEO on NASDAQ for a year. And then Yahoo came and bought us for a little under $300 million. You don't get to relive life, but you can kind of do that again in business. The advice I would give myself as a younger entrepreneur is like, you're gonna get there, right? And like, there's no reason to put pressure on yourself. Might as well just enjoy the ride.
What was the business? It was an ad network, or?
Yeah, we were an advertising technology company. So we had, back in 2009, placed a bet that the cost of storage was going to continue to go towards basically nothing, and that companies would have an abundance of data and they would need to do something with that data, whether it's like monetize it or analyze it or action on it more effectively. Now, like everybody I think knows, like when you see ads online, it's not just random, like there's data behind it, right? But that wasn't always the case. People were like, why am I getting this ad? And so we had built a brain to help inform companies on basically who to target, when to target them.
And then you also serve the ad as well?
Yeah, okay. Exactly. So that's an important point too. So we had that feedback loop, so we could see when people were clicking on the ad or converting, and that would inform our algorithms and make the brain smarter.
Yeah. And then were your clients, because 2009 is pretty early internet advertising, so like what kind of customers did you guys have?
Some of our big customers were guys like Microsoft, Subaru,
Fortune 100.
Yeah, Fortune 100, Fortune 500 brands, yeah.
Obviously, I'm trying to learn this. How do you sell your company? Because I haven't successfully done that yet.
Yeah.
But like, obviously, you had an exit with an IPO, and then does that conversation, was that something you guys were pursuing, or did they just knock on your door and say, "Come join us"?
In the first 5 years, I don't think anyone ever knocked on our door. And it was kind of like disheartening, because as a first-time entrepreneur, you're like, I want that validation, I want the bank account, I want everything that kind of goes along with it. We had got to a kind of market-leading position, and next thing we knew, we had like 3 companies knocking on our door. And we ended up doing the deal with Yahoo. Most of the people that I know that have sold companies in the past, it's usually to companies that they're partnered with in some capacity. Maybe like there's somebody from that company on their board, or maybe they're a large customer or a large vendor, but the natural synergies just kind of make sense.
Was the price that you were selling the company at something you were happy with, or you were like, I just want this headache off my shoulder, like, here you go?
Yeah, a little bit of both, to be honest. I mean, running a public company, well, it's fun to say, it's not fun to do. Yeah. Right?
How old were you?
27.
Damn. You know, at 27, I was just going to clubs and buying tables.
Yeah.
Running a public company, I can't even imagine.
Look, I'd be lying if I said I had all the answers. Like, we definitely figured it out as we were going. But yeah, they came and they made an initial offer, which was lower than the final price, and we rejected it. Yeah. And then, the thing with being a public company, they only need to create a premium, like kind of big enough over the existing share price, where if you start to reject it, you can end up in like shareholder lawsuits, right? So you kind of get like pinned into a corner. Yeah. I thought we were worth more. I felt like while we definitely left some money on the table, it was time.
And then you went to go work at Yahoo?
Yeah, so I worked at Yahoo for a year.
What year was that?
That was 2012.
So you left after 1 year, or?
So I got fired.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I got fired on my 364th day.
Why?
I never got like a real reason. They never owed me a real reason, but I was a non-C-level executive making a bunch of money from an acquisition that the current regime didn't do, right? Yeah. So there's no attachment. And coming from a public-to-public transaction, I wasn't in a position where I could have held up the deal and said, like, everything has to be locked down and protected or I'm not coming along for the ride. Yeah. If I did that, I could have been sued by my board and shareholders for
looking out for your own interest.
Yeah, for breaching fiduciary responsibilities. Yeah. You kind of go through this like weird mental state where you're like, everything that I had put every ounce of energy into for like the past, call it 7 or 8 years, is kind of no longer really matters anymore, which kind of messes with you a little bit emotionally, and you realize that like the journey really is the destination. I would have traded any number of days at Yahoo, like at the present at the time and going forward, for like a single kind of yesterday at interclick, grinding it out, celebrating the wins, the highs, the lows with the team. So then it was like, it's go time. Let's get the band back together. Let's hire some engineers and let's start building, because we felt like the opportunity that we identified was too big to miss out on. And if anybody was going to do it, we were going to do it.
Did you guys raise money this time around, or did you guys just kind of bootstrap it with your own cash? Or
yeah, so we took basically the exact opposite approach. So I wrote the first check-in because I felt like no matter what, anybody was going to ask, like, well, did you invest? Yeah. So I wrote the first check-in, and then I went to friends and family to get a little bit more money in the bank, and then I went to a bunch of angel investors around like the New York tech scene.
And what is mParticle now?
So it's a data platform. So we work with some of the largest brands in the world. We help them basically do more with more of their data, right? So the digital experience isn't just about like going to a website anymore for many brands. There may be like a desktop website, a mobile app, an Alexa skill, an OTT app, right? So you have a lot of this fragmentation. You need to be able to consolidate all that data and then integrate it easily into like any marketing or advertising or analytics system.
So is it easy for a layman at a big company who runs marketing for them to digest, or it's more of like a platform for engineers to kind of use to tweak their product, or how does that work?
So ultimately what we're trying to do is eliminate engineering dependencies so that the marketer can do their job, right? Because every time you want to make a change, add a new partner, you require engineering time, and engineers don't typically like working on that kind of stuff.
They don't like working on anything.
Yeah. Well, they like building, they don't like maintaining.
Yeah.
Right? And so we make it so that once the mParticle data layer is in, then it's all just up to the marketer to go and do. They can go into our system, enter in some information, press a couple buttons, and turn on and off new partners super easily. So we raised a $4.5 million seed round, which is a lot of money for a seed round. And we were heads down for probably like the first 18 months, and we had 0 paying customers, and we were basically running out of money. And so we needed to decide, like, do we keep going? Do we keep building? And the problem with having 0 customers is like, there's nothing to slow.
There's a lot of problems.
Yeah. There's a lot of problems. But like the two main ones is like, one, you have nothing to slow the burn. Yeah. And then you also have no feedback loop coming into the business saying like,
improve the product.
Yeah, you're doing the right thing. So we ended up raising another 4.5. So now we're $9 million in.
How do you raise another 4.5? Because I think that's a struggle that like a lot of entrepreneurs face. Like, we raise money, then we struggle, and then like you go back out and be like, you're struggling. Yeah. Why am I giving you more money? But you can prove it out, but like, how do you convince people to give you more money?
I think they saw the opportunity, but I think the more important thing was that they believed in us as a founding team and our track record, and they were willing to make the bet. And we also gave them favorable terms, right? So we made it worth their while, and it became kind of really expensive for us in hindsight, but we didn't really have any other choice. And so it took us like 2 years. Our first customer was SeatGeek, so I'm forever indebted to those guys. Because without them, like, we wouldn't have got our second customer, and our second customer was Starwood. And without SeatGeek and Starwood, we wouldn't have got Zappos, and then without those three, we wouldn't have got Spotify. Without those guys, we wouldn't have got King and Airbnb, right? So
for your business today, what's like ultimate great ending exit at this? Is it going public again, or is it being acquired by, I'm sure there's a ton of big SaaS players that want to be in this business. Is that what you think it is?
We're talking about like an outcome, right? And the outcome is really a byproduct of doing a lot of the right things, hiring the right team, building the right tech, and making customers really happy. So winning customers, retaining them, and growing them, right? And so you can't fixate on the outcome. You can only really kind of fixate on what you can put into it. It's like saying, I want to win the basketball game. Well, of course you want to win the basketball game. What are you going to do to win, right? And so those are the things that we think about.
I always say if I had a major exit, I'm ghost. YouTube page deleted, Instagram gone. You can't find me. And I could be completely wrong. And I'll be playing tennis in Palm Springs,
Right.
and I'd enter the senior adult tennis circuit, and you may never hear from me again unless I win one of those tournaments. I'm playing 60-year-old men, socks up to my socks up to my ass, and I'm just like dark as hell. But I don't know. But then I've never had a non-working day in my entire adult life, so I don't know anything else either. And I just don't like. I'm just trying to understand that mentality.
Yeah, I like it's tough to say, right? There's a lot of that. You know, ultimately, what money gets you is freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom to do whatever you want, and whether that's like work or play or both, it's up to you, right? Like to think that you would never work again. Like I don't think you're wired that way. And now, like you've been in business for yourself for so long, like you've developed that muscle memory, right? Like you wake up and you have a routine, right? And so like you can't just turn that off. Like there's, you know, it's not like this binary state, right? So like you would be involved in something, I'm sure. You may not necessarily want to grind it out as hard as you are today, but like, yeah, to think like nobody would ever hear from you, I don't believe that for a second.
I don't know, just, you know, being an entrepreneur, and I would say the difference is probably between you and me is I think if I had an exit under my belt and I had the financial security of like, okay, if this doesn't work out, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
But since I haven't gotten to that moment yet, yeah, I've done well, I have a nice life, but like for the amount of effort and energy I've put into this business, to not have that exit yet puts there's that seed of doubt that I still face daily.
Right.
I still, you know, I have a kid now, and like now that put this enormous amount of pressure I put on myself now. Like I don't want my kid to not have a great life. I don't even have any desires anymore. I just want my kid to have a great life. And like, and I think if I had the exit, I'd be more like the freedom thought would be so much easier.
But it's not like, and I know it's kind of easy to say when you kind of cross that line, but it's not everything. Like and it's really not.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like it gives you freedom and it gives you that peace of mind, but you can find that peace of mind through other means. Personally, like this business has been way harder and also way more rewarding